I'm alive. Why am I alive? Because every day is a tokusatsu day, which brings me to my first impressions of the newest Ultraman series, that being 2025's Ultraman Omega. Now, let me tell you, right off the bat, I enjoyed it quite a bit. A really solid and damn good pilot, I might add. Going into Omega, I was worried it wasn't going to be fresh, but what did I know? It turns out it was. Look at the marketing and all that, the gimmicks of his weapons, and just the tone of the show from what I saw, just trailers and all that, and some of the behind the scenes info. I was like, I don't know if I was really hooked yet, you know. Blazar was weird because of his design, and it wasn't, Blazar was not a dark show, really. It was still, an upbeat Ultraman show, but it had an interesting kind of vibe to it, a bit of a, not uncanny, but something felt unnatural in a good way, even though it was still, a pretty standard Ultraman show. And then you had Arc, and Arc was imaginative, it was really vibrant. And I really loved the dynamic that Arc and Yuma had in their respective show, right? But now we have another mainstay Ultraman director taking over again for the first time since his other work was in that Ultraman Decker. God, that was 3 years ago. But when it comes to Omega, how does it feel fresh in the end? Well, it's been a solid minute, guys, since we had a Ultraman who just made a human form. I think the last time we actually saw one in the main, story was, I guess, Reboot, maybe? Because Reboot was in Trigger and he made a human form. And then, but here we are in Omega, and our new guy, I'll just call him Omega. I know we know his human host name from all the marketing press material, but the name of this first episode, I'll just call him Omega, since he only goes by Omega. And I love how they made him, really a fish out of water, He shows up on Earth in Japan, and he kind of reminded me of how they portrayed Supergirl in the Batman, Superman Public Enemies animated film from 15 years ago. Kind of they land on Earth, they don't know what's going on, they feel very alien, and I think it worked here with Omega's character. And especially following that opening fight scene, let me tell you guys, I've talked about on this channel, or maybe on a podcast, kind of my analysis on how, it took until the late 90s, early 2000s to have Ultraman, fly CGI in a film, and then they started implementing that into TV shows slowly, new ways to make Ultraman's flying feel more real. Kind of like how we got better shots of Godzilla swimming in the late 90s and early 2000s, and until recently he looks really good swimming. And although I wish we had a suitmation again, Godzilla and him swimming, we'll get there. But Godzilla swimming, Ultraman flying looks great. Now they can do that on the TV budget of Ultraman, as we saw at the opening of Omega. We see Omega fighting off an entire, some kind of alien, Seijin, mostly kaiju army, some armada, and some half-planet looking thing. Reminded me of Cybertron a little bit. But Omega's fighting them off. We get to see his Ice Slugger, some of his hand beams, and then we got the actual new Specimen Ray that starts with an outline of a star, a 5-star. Then he shoots it at the aliens. So we got to see him use his Specimen Ray right off the bat in the opening. I love this opening. It felt grand. It felt like they had a lot of budget behind it. It felt well executed. And then of course Omega gets shot out after he beats them by another, weapon the aliens had, and he falls on Earth, and that's how the series starts. So very simple, but I thought it was fresh in terms of that, There's no strike team in the show. From what little I read behind the scenes, the director of the series, the overall director, he didn't want there to be any kind of strike team or military, in the forefront, which I think was fine, Even Arc didn't really have that, besides some JSDF tanks and a general science team, but no military team like Blazar. But I guess in Omega he didn't want to have that because of all the increased conflicts rising in the world right now. He just wanted to show emphasis on people making a difference as themselves, and how you don't need to be in any kind of military faction to do that. No government, you can just be yourself and still make some kind of difference. I like that aspect. And we see that play here when Omega and the other supporting character, his name is escaping, was it Hoshimi, I think? Hoshimi, was that right? I'll double check. Because he doesn't get named till the end, just like Omega. But we see those two, they're a nice duo, right? Kind of the, Omega plays it straight, right? He's an alien. He's not too goofy. He takes everything seriously. He's noble, stoic. I like that. Very Ultraman-like. Then I also call him Hoshimi. New guy, sporting character, but he has a stylish life. He has an established life on Earth, and we get to see him just be like, I want to say the goofy guy, but he definitely takes a more exaggerated reaction to all of Omega's just bumbling around trying to figure out what Earth is all about. I like that. It feels really like just truly Ultraman, right? Showa Heisei Millennium, we're going to call it. They had good elements like that. I like that. It feels true to this series to have like a lot of lighthearted, fun stuff, but to go back into I talked about there being no like strike team and focusing on humans making a difference like yourself and everyday stuff. That culminates in this episode in a little bit where Omega and Hoshimi save this girl. Like it was after the first attack by the kaiju Graham, Graim, Graham. And they find this girl who's tugging on them, their shirt, because she was scared. She couldn't find her mother after surviving the kaiju attack. And she starts breaking down. And this is juxtaposed with a shot of these adults arguing about the kaiju and the attack, if it was real or their reaction or all that stuff. I think that's going to set up a central theme in the show that's going to relate to what we're going on in real life, especially right now. And if you ask me, even if there's so-called mature adults in the world just talking about nonsense, I think everybody still has like that scared child within them. And even if they overlook that and they try to, repress it by thinking they're in control and they have to have an attitude and, be mature adults and there's be jackasses in charge of governments everywhere, we kind of get to see how, in this shot, Omega comes over to one of the guys arguing that tries to like put the hand up, and Omega grabs him, puts it back on his hat, kind of puts him in his place, or at least kind of makes the guy, step back. And between our two duo protagonists, I kind of like this. They're the ones that can see the kids, because kids can always see things that adults don't. It's kind of another recurring motif with the Ultraman franchise. And we get that right here. I didn't expect to see that right off the bat, but that really sold this episode for me. So they pick up the little girl who was scared and they help her find her mother. And I thought that was really sweet, right? The small things is what makes Ultraman Ultraman. Because another recurring motif in the Ultraman franchise is that none of them are gods. They're not. Just normal, just people, really. Even if they're from space or from Earth, they're just people. And much like how Alien Mythos questioned Hayata in the original Ultraman, are you Ultraman or man? Are you alien or man? And Hayata would respond, I am both. So I think we're going to get that kind of theme with this show, especially. Just doesn't matter if you're from Earth or space, you're just who you are. And following that, the little girl and her mother get in trouble again once the kaiju Graham attacks. And I really like this kaiju's roar. It's really unique. It sounds like a chainsaw at the end of it. He kind of reminds me of Teleston's roar, and even Boros too. Maybe that was the influence, who knows. But we get a brand new kaiju. Once again, following Blazar, we get, just a plethora of new kaiju. So I'm excited to see some more. Different body shapes, styles, colorations, beams, stories, backgrounds. I'm excited to see it all. So we get to see Omega finally step up. We get to see him use some like Ultraman superhuman abilities in human form, which is really nice. I can't remember the last time we saw that in an Ultraman show or project. And then, wouldn't you know it, he raises his arm up and he's able to summon his Ice Slugger. That's also the transformation device, and becomes his true Omega form. Fights off Graham, and it's pretty cool. Probably not as energetic or as like Ark's first fight with Shadong, or it's not even as long as like Blazar's first fight with Bazanga, but I think this fight with Omega and Graham was really good for a first impression. Pretty good. Shows that it's a different direction, different visual style. And I don't know if you guys saw this with the subtitles, but it felt like the subtitles for English were actually, because I watch it with, the subs, they were actually like translating random signs on buildings. Like there's a parking sign, of course, that's easy to read, but like other signs are not so easy to just translate from visuals alone, or it's pretty cool to see them get translated. So props to the Super IO's international team for that, if that was intentional. And fight's pretty good. Finally get to see him fly after being told earlier in the show, this episode, that Omega's like, I think I can fly. And he finally flies in his Ultraman form, truly. And surprisingly, I like that he doesn't use his particular specimen ray to finish off Graham. No, because we saw that earlier, the opening fight. Instead, he uses a new Ice Slugger. Like, I'll tell you guys this. It's been 20 years since Ultraman Max, and while I haven't really watched Ultraman Max myself, I see like a similar like motif of having one be maximum, and then Omega is the ultimate. So, tell you what, I'm gonna start watching Ultraman Max in correlation of Omega, right? I'll be watching them, because like I said, the new tagline, every day is a Tokusatsu day, so I'll make it happen. I'll start watching Ultraman Max as Omega is airing, and we'll see what similarities come into play, because the director of Max, I follow him on Instagram, he's been posting about Max a lot, so I'm like, might as well check out Ultraman Max, with Omega releasing, and, you know, why not? They're both new Ultramen that take a really, like, powerful stance, and they both have some kind of Ice Slugger, so perfect time, I think, to check out Max and Omega and see what similarities they have, because, of course, Omega has taken the Blazar arc approach of not really being some kind of, like, you know, they're not taking inspiration from a particular Ultraman directly, like Trigger, Decker, and even Z and Taiga. They're just kind of just taking overall vibes, and if you see the connection, if you've seen the previous show, then you're gonna pick it up. That's kind of how I see it. But as it all stands, this first Ultraman Omega episode is pretty great. I like the background music. There was no opening theme song again. I think they're saving it for episode 2, but I think it's gonna be called Bright Eyes, so pretty fitting. And it's just, as for Omega himself, I like the music, like the background fighting themes, the little motifs. The direction is pretty good. I like all the shots they had when Omega in his human form first met the other protagonist. I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of like shots that kind of backed up and just let the characters kind of take the background or different angles too. I feel like I'm really excited for Omega. There's no sci-fi, no supernatural stuff on this particular Earth. A very clean slate, because of course the other shows have their own Earths, you know, different dimensions, but even Blazar and Arc, they've already like some kind of experience of weird, bizarre sci-fi fantasy. Omega, nope, it's a pretty clean slate, so I'm pretty excited, right? Some of the ideas may not be like super new, but in terms of like, you know, the Ultraman syndication of ideas coming back, we haven't seen a human-made form in a long time, so that's nice. I haven't seen like an Earth that's completely like a blank slate, so that's pretty good. And then we're just getting a new Ultraman that once again doesn't really have forms. He's gonna have power armor. This is like the third Ultraman to have power armor, so maybe we'll call Blazar, Arc, and Omega the Bao trilogy, right? B-A-O. Maybe, we'll see. But without further ado, I've been Mr. TDF. You can call me Mr. Tokusatsu Day Films for, you know, Tokusatsu, half of my channel. But let me know what you thought of Ultraman Omega. Please let me know. You happy to celebrate Ultraman Day next week once again? Let me know. And stay tuned for more of my Alien and Magma reports and Mughal review as my Ultraman new series and Godzilla retrospective series. They kind of intertwine, right? Be tuned for next week. I got more coming. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Shoot watch.